Walk into almost any classroom in America tomorrow, and you are probably going to hear some version of this question. Everybody good? Any questions? Does that make sense? And then something interesting happens. A few students will nod. Maybe somebody quietly even says yes. Most students will keep looking at the teacher, but nobody says anything. And for about 2 seconds, everyone in the room agrees to participate in one of education's strangest traditions. We all pretend that silence means understanding. The teacher keeps moving, the lesson continues, and sometimes that works out just fine. But sometimes, 10 minutes later, students begin asking questions that reveal they were lost long before anyone realized it. Sometimes independent work starts and half the room immediately raises hands. Sometimes a teacher finishes a lesson feeling like things went really well, only to discover later that students never really connected with the learning at all. Because silence can mean a lot of things. It can mean confidence. It can also mean uncertainty. And it can mean politeness. Sometimes it simply means students do not want to be the first person to say, I have absolutely no idea what is happening right now. And that is where leadership enters the conversation. Because if we want better instructional outcomes, we have to become better at helping teachers see what students actually understand, not what we hope they understand.
This is Your Morning Boost, recorded in the Forward Ed Network studios. A weekly spark for educators and school leaders ready to lead, teach, and live with greater intention. This is Your Morning Boost.
Welcome to Your Morning Boost, everybody. I'm so happy you're with us here today. If you haven't taken time to give us a quick like or a follow or subscribe to these channels, we'd really appreciate it. It helps us continue to grow this show and helps to reach a bigger audience worldwide. So if you got a chance, do that real quickly for us. We'd really appreciate that. Give us a rating and review. That'd be even better. Today, we're talking about something that sits right in the center of instructional leadership, and especially this time of year. We're talking about the concept of checking for understanding. But more specifically, we are talking about moving beyond checking for participation and moving toward visible evidence of learning. Because by late May, something starts happening in schools. And it's not because people stop caring. It's not because teachers suddenly become less effective, but because everyone is carrying a lot of cognitive weight by this point in the year. Students feel it. Teachers feel it. Leaders, we definitely feel it. And the year has been long. The calendar is crowded. Testing windows have come and gone. End of the year events are starting to fill spaces that used to belong to our routines. And slowly, without anybody deciding to do it intentionally, people begin shifting into autopilot. Not because they're lazy, because they're tired. And there is a difference there. And one of the first places that autopilot starts showing up is in instructional precision. Because when energy gets low, we naturally start to simplify things. We want to move a little faster. We assume understanding a little more often. And we become satisfied with signals that feel close enough. A teacher asks if everybody understands. A few students nod. Hands go up from the same students who always volunteer, and nobody pushes back. Everybody keeps moving. On the surface, that seems fine. But underneath that moment is a very important question. What exactly are we using as evidence? Because if our evidence is simply that students looked attentive or stayed quiet or followed directions, then we may not actually know much at all. We may know students were compliant. We may know students were cooperative, but we still don't know whether learning actually happened. And that distinction, it matters. Because learning is invisible until students do something with it. Years ago, I worked with a school leader who was conducting classroom walkthroughs and became very frustrated. She kept leaving classrooms with comments like, good engagement, students appeared focused, strong classroom atmosphere. And after a while, she realized what was bothering her. She could describe what the room felt like, but she could not always describe what students actually knew. That's a very different thing, because a classroom can feel great and still leave students confused. A room can be calm and organized, awesome stuff on the walls, and students quietly misunderstand an important concept. And honestly, that realization changed the way that she looked at instruction. She started entering classrooms with a different question. Instead of asking how engaged do students look, She started asking, what evidence tells me students are thinking right now? That one little shift changed almost everything for her. She suddenly noticed things that she'd missed before. She noticed students writing before discussion started. She noticed teachers pausing long enough for every student to process before they took an answer. She noticed classrooms where every student had to produce something instead of just a few students carrying the conversation. And what became clear to her was this: the strongest classrooms were not necessarily the loudest or the most energetic. They were the classrooms where thinking had become visible.
Are you ready to transform your school or classroom? Join hosts Adam and Jim on Control Shift Lead, the monthly podcast on the Forward Ed Network. Every episode, they bring in top educators from across the United States to deliver 3 game-changing insights: something you can control in your work, something that will shift your thinking, and something you can use to lead tomorrow. Don't just manage, lead. Subscribe to Control Shift Lead today.
Strong schools don't just happen in classrooms. They happen in conversations. BrightPath Family Connect helps schools and families stay aligned with simple updates, reminders, and meaningful communication that actually gets seen. Because when families are informed, students are supported. BrightPath Family Connect. Better connection, better learning.
This segment is sponsored by Grunmeyer Leader Services. Since 2013, GLS has been a trusted partner for school districts across the Midwest, specializing in executive recruitment and leadership support. They believe that great schools start with great leaders, and they are here to help you find the perfect fit for your district. Transform your school's future with the right leader. Visit GrunmeyerLeaderSearch.com to learn more. Grunmeyer Leader Services, transforming education one leader at a time.
Sometimes when leaders talk about checking for understanding, we unintentionally make it sound like another strategy that teachers need to add to, well, let's be honest, an already full plate. And if I'm a teacher hearing that in late May, my first thought might be, great, one more thing. But I do not think this is really about adding more. I think it's about becoming more. We're going to become more intentional with what is already happening. Teachers are already asking questions. Teachers already pause during lessons. They already look for signals from students. The issue usually is not whether the checks exist. The issue is whether the information coming back is actually useful. Think about those students in every classroom who always volunteer. I mean, we know who they are. These are the students whose hands go up before the questions even finish. And every teacher appreciates those students. They help conversations move. They bring a ton of energy. And let's be honest, they often know the answer. But they also can accidentally create an illusion, because if those same students are carrying discussion every single day, we start to naturally believe that the room understands more than it actually does. And that's not anyone's fault. Our brains naturally look for quick evidence. We all do it. And if a few students seem confident, we kind of assume that confidence is spreading throughout the room. If students are quiet, we assume understanding exists. If nobody objects, we think everyone's following along. But silence has always been incomplete data. That's why some of the strongest instructional moments happen when teachers ask students to show their thinking before they ask students to explain it. Maybe the students write something first. Maybe they sketch the idea. Maybe they solve one problem independently before moving on. Or maybe they explain the answer to a partner before sharing it with the entire room. Strategies like this, the strategy itself matters less than the visibility of the learning. Because once student thinking becomes visible, teachers can actually respond to what they see. And that changes instruction. Now it's not the teacher guessing. Now the teacher is making decisions using evidence. Leadership, we play a very important role here too. Because when we walk into classrooms, we influence what teachers begin prioritizing. So think back to my principal friend. If our feedback only sounds like great lesson, love the energy, nice engagement today, eventually people start believing that those are the things that we value most. But imagine hearing something different. Imagine a teacher hearing, I noticed students paused and wrote their thinking before the discussion started. That gave every student an entry point instead of just relying on volunteers. Now we are reinforcing something very specific. We are naming evidence. We are naming impact.
You're doing incredible work in your classroom and community. Isn't it time the world heard about it? Welcome to The Commons, a dedicated podcast channel on the Forward Ed Network, built specifically for educational professionals like you. We provide the platform at no cost. You bring the ideas and the passion. We provide the reach to share them with the field. Ready to start your broadcast? Ready to share your knowledge with others? Email us at admin@forwardednetwork.com and join the conversation today.
If you're an educator trying to stay sharp without adding more to your plate, SkillSpring is built for you. Short, practical professional learning designed around real classroom needs. Lesson strategies, instructional tools, and ideas you can actually use tomorrow. No overwhelm, no wasted time. Just learning that fits your day. SkillSpring. Learn forward.
As we close today, I want to pull back from strategies and walkthroughs for just a minute and come back to something bigger. One of the interesting things about this work of education is that so much of our work happens before we ever see the results. Teachers plan lessons before they know whether they'll connect. Leaders create systems before they know how they will hold up over time. We spend days making decisions based on what we hope will happen later. And that's just simply part of the work. But every once in a while, there are moments where learning becomes visible right in front of us. We hear a student explain an idea differently than how they could a month ago. We watch a classroom conversation just suddenly click. We see a student solve something independently that used to require support. All of these moments can be small, and they can happen very quickly, and sometimes they are easy to miss if everyone is moving fast. But those moments matter. They matter because they remind us that teaching is not really about covering material. It's about creating movement. Sometimes that movement is dramatic. Most of the time, it's quieter than that. It shows up in growth that happens one step at a time. And as leaders, one of the most important things we can do is to help teachers see that movement more clearly. Help them see evidence of progress that might otherwise disappear into the pace of a busy school day. When people can see growth happening, even in small ways, it changes how they experience the work. And in the final weeks of a school year, that perspective matters. Thanks for being part of the work, and thank you for spending your time with us. We appreciate everything that you do for your students and your community. Thank you for tuning into the Forward Ed Network. We'll be back to talk with you again next week.
That's your morning boost from AWB Education and Media. If this episode helped you reset your thinking or take your next step forward, share it with a colleague. And don't forget to subscribe so your next boost is ready when you need it. Keep showing up with intention. Keep moving forward, and we'll see you next time.